that is the incredible thing about Charlie Kirk. You're hearing all of these stories about from Vice President J.D. Vance to my own colleague, Bradley Devlin, who wrote a touching tribute to him. And the personal outreach that Charlie made to these individuals is just incredible. Where he found the time, among all of the other things that he was responsible for doing, to cultivate these personal relationships. And I'm talking about with interns or college students, who otherwise, might just be an afterthought for most people. Charlie Kirk developed a meaningful relationship with them. And I think that goes back to his belief in Christianity and strong devotion to Jesus and the lessons that he obviously learned through his faith. But yes, deeply missed. He will leave a great legacy behind with Turning Point USA, and prayers go out to his wife, Erica, and his 2 children, certainly today.
All right, guys, this is not your typical Thursday. We start today by recognizing the 24th anniversary of 9/11, and a day that will live in infamy for our country. The sacrifice that is so personal to so many people in this country that continue to suffer. Hopefully a memory that instills a sense of patriotism and honor and fight in our country to remember the threats that we face and the thousands of people who continue to make sacrifices and give them care. But obviously today is more than that. It's going to be a difficult show. Anyway, luckily I've got the panel here. This morning, the president was at the Pentagon announcing that he's going to posthumously give Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Obviously, very fitting. I think for many of us, it's a range of emotion. We'll get into that, from sadness to outrage, concern that we're still trying to figure out how this happened. Flags are at half staff, ordered by the president. So I'm excited to at least have a panel here today to help me get through this. Tomorrow, by the way, we'll bring in Seth Keshel. He's obviously been huge when it comes to voter registration, but obviously based out there in Arizona, the home of Turning Point USA. And we'll see what the thoughts are of the folks in Arizona and Seth and all the people there and how they're handling this. It's difficult to do a show like today because we have sponsors that are kind enough to take care of our show. And obviously the show needs to go on. But so I want to thank the sponsors that have been with us today. Before I bring in the panel, we have talked a lot about MAHA and how people are on a journey for wellness. That journey isn't just about humans, though. It's also about our pets and our animals. And as a dog owner, many of you know, I've talked a lot about this because I've got a great friend, Leo Grillo. I'll tell you about him in a second. But we got in touch with Ruff Greens. And I know this sounds weird, but when I meet with sponsors, I always ask them, who's worked well for you? What have they done? And I don't know if just God made this happen today, but the number one person that Ruff Greens loved was Charlie Kirk. And I literally said, who do you guys think does well representing your company? And it was Charlie. And I don't know if that was just fortuitous that today we start with them. Maybe that's a sign from above. But I've had my dog taking Ruff Greens now for weeks, and it really does make a difference in their appearance, from their coat to how they act. And so my lab is normally pretty excited, but it's been unbelievable in terms of digestion and how she has reacted to this. You can actually see the difference in their behavior and their ad. And all it is one little scoop that you add to the food. That's not anything big and different. It is really a something that you can do to help your pet, your dog in particular. I've made the change. Just add 1 scoop of Ruff Greens. It starts mild over time. And the cool part is they help you on this whole journey. Ruff Greens is offering a free Jumpstart bag. They'll cover the shipping, and they'll do everything else. Use discount word Spicer at checkout. Go to Jumpstart, get your Jumpstart trial. Just go to ruffgreens.com, and add code word Spicer in there to get your Jumpstart bag. And trust me, my dog loved it. It was a bunch of treats and bags, and the food was great anyway. But as I mentioned, one of the guys that I've gotten to know because of my dog and is Leo Grillo at Delta Rescue. Delta Rescue is amazing. They've been with us from the beginning. They have taken care of all sorts of abandoned, abused, neglected dogs, cats, animals, horses, you name it. What began as one rescue of a Doberman for Leo Grillo turned into a worldwide mission to become the largest no-kill sanctuary in the world. And it's not a shelter. It's not like where they're looking to rehouse or take in someone else, give you a dog or a cat. They do this for life. And it's amazing what they do. If you go to deltarescue.org, you can see the amazing work that they do. I've personally made a contribution to them because I believe so much in the mission and what Leo's been able to do. I would ask you to do the same. Please support it. There's no big grant money or government USAID stuff that helps. It's all me and you helping Delta Rescue. So please go to deltarescue.org to learn more. There's an estate planning kit. If you really see the great work that Leo's doing and feel so inclined to make this an enduring mission, click on that estate planning kit and make it an enduring mission through maybe an old 401k or stock. All right. Without further ado, I want to bring in our panel. Susan Crabtree, investigative and national political reporter for Real Clear Politics. My old colleague at Newsmax, Hayley Coronia, who is the host of the Nightly Scroll, and our good buddy Rob Bluey over there at the Daily Signal, the president and executive editor. Guys, I've done a lot of shows. This one's the heaviest. So let's just start. Rob, thoughts on Charlie?
Sean, thanks for showing up and doing the show. This is incredibly difficult for those of us who work in media and had a relationship or connection to Charlie or Turning Point USA, as I think so many in the conservative movement did. That is the incredible thing about Charlie Kirk. You're hearing all of these stories about, from Vice President J.D. Vance to my own colleague, Bradley Devlin, who wrote a touching tribute to him. And the personal outreach that Charlie made to these individuals is just incredible. Where he found the time, among all of the other things that he was responsible for doing, to cultivate these personal relationships. And I'm talking about with interns or college students, who otherwise, might just be an afterthought for most people. Charlie Kirk developed a meaningful relationship with them. And I think that goes back to his belief in Christianity and strong devotion to Jesus and the lessons that he obviously learned through his faith. But yes, deeply missed. He will leave a great legacy behind with Turning Point USA, and prayers go out to his wife, Erica, and his two children, certainly today.
Hayley, I don't think people who aren't in the movement or on the right or cover the right appreciate that it's not just about Charlie. It's about a movement that he led. We all commentate. We all are pundits or reporters or cover this. And there's plenty of those people on the right and the left. Your sort of founder there, Dan Bongino, was a great voice. Tucker's a great voice. Rush was a great voice. Giants. I mean, I'm not, but there's a difference that they got out there every day. And I wouldn't be where I am today without Rush Limbaugh. I mean, he's just the thoughts that he put in my head, the ability to articulate messages. But what Charlie did was lead and create, not just lead, he created a movement that grew bigger and bigger every year. And I just don't know that people fully appreciate that.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk was a force to be reckoned with, and I can't believe that we're talking about him in the past tense. It doesn't feel real. And as someone who maybe emailed with him back and forth a few times, I wasn't lucky enough to have that close relationship that a lot of other people in the media have with Charlie. But I know what an amazing person he is, because it was impossible to not know the amazing person that Charlie is. He was a man of God, a husband, a father, but he was also this father figure to so many young people in this movement. He put on events with hundreds of thousands of kids, high school age, college age, and even older. And I made this point yesterday. He kind of bridged this gap. It wasn't just the conservative party that people knew of, where it was the, your mother's, your father's Republican Party. He kind of bridged that gap and made it this cohesive movement and brought in Gen Z and millennials with him. What he did was nothing short of amazing. And we have Charlie Kirk to thank for President Trump being in the White House today.
Susan, your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are basically you see that his murder has sort of empowered all of us. It puts the power of his message in all of us now. And it is a turning point. I was on Charlie Kirk's podcast several times, ironically, to discuss the assassination attempts against President Trump. I wouldn't say I knew him, unlike Gavin Newsom, who posted that he knew him. I didn't know him. I was not lucky enough, as Hayley said, to know him, but he did reach out to me. He was relentless in reaching out to people. He even reached out to me and invited me, asked for my phone number, invited me to a conference that I regret that I wasn't able to attend because of my book. But I will tell you this about Charlie Kirk. He is relentless in his pursuit of the truth. There are a lot of influencers, MAGA influencers, that have shied away from some of my reporting on the Secret Service because it has continued to unearth negative aspects of the Secret Service ability to lead us forward and protect Donald Trump. Even though it's now under a leadership that Donald Trump had selected, he had continued to elevate my stories. He would repost my stories. He would post my stories on Charlie Kirk's news. And I just think that's a testament to his just avid pursuit of the truth and his desire to protect Donald Trump and reform government agencies that desperately need reform. And he didn't play favorites. I just think that he was just this incredible force to be reckoned with. And I am trying to reconcile. My nephews were so impacted by his message. They were forced to universities, private universities, not public universities, that my sister was paying for. This has happened to so many, where they had to write essays and read books that were self-loathing for white men, white boys growing up. And he became a voice for them and was incredibly influential in their lives. And I'll always thank Charlie for that power that he gave them. But I just think we need to, what I'm trying to reconcile with, and maybe you feel this too, Sean, is this sort of anger and love, right? He had he wanted to embrace other voices. He wasn't afraid to bring the fight to college campuses, the belly of the beast. So I went to my church last night and they had what I would consider a vigil for Charlie Kirk. And this is the message I took out of it. And I'll read from scripture, 1 Corinthians 16:13-14. Be on your guard, stand firm in your faith, be courageous, be strong, and let all that you do be done in love. And I think that's a testament to Charlie Kirk's approach, that he was always smiling when he was taking on his opponents, and he embraced the idea of civil discourse in our society, which can't get lost. We have to be righteously angry and do what we're doing with love, always.
So I want to pick up on that. I'm sad for Charlie and for his family. But as I said, I'm pissed. Because this idea, and I had a long conversation on the morning meeting with Dan and Mark and some of the viewers, this idea that it's both sides and equivalent is just BS. It's not. I mean, Susan, to your point, the left controls every major outlet, academia, Hollywood, big tech, media. When the right does something, it's a massive outrage. To your point about your kids, your nephews, we were told to write essays about our white privilege and we had to denounce it. And if we didn't use pronouns, we were wrong. Hollywood, won't cast anyone on the right if they're of faith or believes in our side. Businesses would fire people if they found out you voted for Donald Trump. Rob Bluey, I'm sorry. This isn't the same. This is not the same. They're trying to take out leaders of a movement because they want to stop it. And it's not the same. I get it. I don't think violence is ever acceptable. I'm outraged that somebody tried to break into Nancy Pelosi's house and hurt her husband. I'm sorry that Josh Shapiro had somebody go at his house. Not just sorry. It's wrong. Gretchen Whitmer being attacked. Wrong. But that's not the same. This is decades long of silencing and censoring conservatives because they dare have a different of opinion. And if we don't agree with this is the big difference. I've traveled college campuses, Rob. And I've been told, here's the security detail that you get. Here are the threats that you face. Here's what they're allowed to do to you before we intervene. That's not the same as what goes on the left, Rob. And all these guys on the left who want to say, well, just take the temperature down. I'm sorry. But this is not the same.
It's not the same, Sean. Thank you for pointing that out so articulately there. I would also note that this is not something that just happened overnight. It's years in the making. And what you see as pollsters, survey college students, number one, they don't understand that there can be civil discourse or free speech. They think that it's okay to react violently. They say this. They tell pollsters this. I don't know whether it's a right versus left thing, although you tend to see this reaction more viscerally on the left. And I think that the fact that you had, even in the wake of Charlie's death yesterday, people immediately referring to him as a divisive figure who spread conspiracy theories. I mean, I couldn't believe that these are their instant reactions to a great man like Charlie Kirk on so many of these outlets, these legacy media outlets. It was appalling to me. And I want to pick up on something that Susan said, because I think that this is one thing that maybe, again, is not getting nearly the attention. Susan, we saw in Washington, D.C. and communities across the country have church vigils last night. Can you imagine? I mean, what type of a figure other than Charlie Kirk would inspire people instantaneously to come together in a setting like that and pray? And Sean, you're absolutely right. We can't resort to violence. We must condemn violence, even when it takes place among people on the right. But this is more than I think people might necessarily realize. I truly believe that the left sees this as a war against conservatives, and they are not intent to stop with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We all need to be fearful. We need to be steadfast. But yes, you articulated it well there, Sean, that this is not nearly the end, and it's something that we need to be mindful of going forward.
Hayley, I know you when you and I used to work together, you lived in New York City, and I tried to make this point to people this morning. If Hayley Coronia walked down the street in New York City with a "Make America Great" hat, as amazing of a person as you were or are, I guarantee you people would snide comments. But if you walk down that same street with an Obama or a Biden hat, they probably would have pat you on the back. I mean, I just don't think that the media and the folks on the left appreciate the censorship, the canceling, the oppression of thought, like that people on the right who have supported this, deal with and have dealt with, to the point it's not just yesterday this happened or 5 days ago. This is systemic.
Yeah, what's really disgusting, and you made a great point, Sean, about the difference between the political violence that we see on the left and the right. And you made this great point about how it seems to be not even, right? We're seeing a lot of attacks on the right by the left. They're political in nature. The difference is when we see something happen to Gretchen Whitmer, when we see something happen to Nancy Pelosi, when we see something happen to leftists, when we see Governor Josh Shapiro's house be burnt down, right? The right comes out and says this is wrong because it is. The right always points this out and says political violence is wrong. It doesn't matter if you're left, right, center. This is wrong. This shouldn't happen to you. When it happens to us, the left celebrates. The left revels in it. And I think we've seen this, like we said, over a long time, but it started with Hillary Clinton casting us aside as this basket of deplorables. Joe Biden, a sitting president, called us garbage. A sitting president, Joe Biden, said, if you didn't get the vaccine, I think that you should be prepared for a severe winter of illness and death. We see people at the very, very tippy top of the Democrat Party calling for us to die. So this is no surprise. And then we see people on social media. They're posting on Blue Sky lists of people who they want to be next. I saw Candace Owens, who's a great friend of Charlie Kirk, post, before he passed away, please pray for him. There were sickos in that comment section saying, we're praying that you're next. This is a battle between good and evil, and I don't even know how we root out this kind of evil.
Susan, the thing that to the point about the headlines about Charlie, conservative activists or whatever, as I mentioned, just as an example, on the left, there's, let's say, AOC, Rachel Maddow, and okay, who cares? Like 5 other people. On the right, there are amazing voices. Glenn Beck, Tucker Carlson, big ones, right? Okay, those are influencers and activists. What Charlie did at his core was say, I want to have a dialogue. I don't want to cancel you. I don't want to censor you. In fact, it's the opposite. I invite you. I invite you to come talk to me. This is the exact opposite of what the left is doing. He's not standing on a hilltop and saying, and there's plenty of them on both sides. And I mean, like, we have ours, they have theirs. God bless them. It's a free country. I love it. Right. But that's not what Charlie was. When they say that conservative right-wing pundit MAGA, that's not actually true. He was a guy that at his core said, come talk to me. Have a dialogue with me. He invited it. He didn't cancel it. And that's what's being missed right now, is that they want to paint him as some MAGA influencer pundit. But that's the opposite of what he was fighting for, which was to say, let's have that battle of ideas in a civil, respectful way. I want you. He's literally at that college campus with a microphone. Tell me where I'm wrong.
And that will be his legacy that we all have to live up to. You know, I think that it is just, we're not conservatives. As you and I are a little bit older, we won't talk exactly about when we met, how many decades ago that was, Sean, but we didn't have as many conservative voices out there in the mainstream media. It was even pre-Fox when we started, Sean.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, you had to be submissive in the media if you wanted your job. And I have had experiences in the White House press corps where the White House press corps president has told me, when I said, I'm stuck at an event and I can't get to my Bible study, and I mentioned my Bible study is kind of like a wine drinking group, trying to make light of it. It's funny. We're a wine group with a Bible study program. I was making light of it. I have had individuals tell me, why are you believing that? And it's like Santa Claus. These are people, influential people. They would never say that to anybody, like if they were Jewish or Muslim. But they can attack Christians. And I think that's why this sad event yesterday is going to be a clarion call, a sea change for all conservatives who have been trying to operate in the mainstream media for many, many years, to say, we will not back down anymore. We will have a civil discourse, and we will respectfully provide our views, and we will not back down. I think this is empowering individuals. And it's so interesting to me, there are fringe people on both sides that say horrible things on social media. You have to, and I'm thankful to the leadership of MSNBC that Matthew Dowd got fired yesterday. I believe Katie Tur should also have been fired. And I'm just saying that apologizing for them is not enough. It's not enough. It would have been a hollow act if they hadn't fired Matthew Dowd from the contributorship. So thankfully, the pressure is on now. The dynamic is changing. You have Barack Obama and Gavin Newsom stop his smirking for 1/2 a second and recognize that Charlie Kirk was a person who facilitated political discussion, and that he appreciated what he brought to the conversation. He was not friends with Charlie Kirk. He did not know Charlie Kirk. I took exception to that. I did not know Charlie Kirk. I had several podcast experiences with him, and so did Gavin Newsom. But how about that conversation? Charlie Kirk was the only one who pressed him on the big issues of the day, and has been able to get real answers out of him and a shift in position. And so we don't do that by backing away from the political discussion. We are in for the fight. We will put on the armor of God, and we may be pierced. We may even die for our cause, like Charlie Kirk did, but we will not back down anymore. And this is what his legacy is all about. And this is what we all have to live up to with his death and his untimely death. So, but I think it will lead a movement. He's been leading a movement. I think the movement will only grow.
It's funny you say that about what we need to do and what they do. Charlie talked about the core of the left and the core of liberals. I want to play you this because this to me is like unbelievably prophetic. Take a look.
At the core of the left, at the core of a liberal, is someone that would use the sword if they had it. They are very violent people at their core. They always have been. They can't debate. They can't have conversation. So they'll resort to these tactics. They're going to do everything they possibly can to try to murder this movement because they can't beat us. So they're going to try to take weapons. And no, we're very aware of that. I'm aware of it. We have to have full-time security. This is not a joke. This is who these people are.
Rob, it actually gave me chills when I saw that video.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, Charlie Kirk understood, and I think so many leaders, people who have a voice in the media. You see this with Matt Walsh at Daily Wire, right? I mean, he was also one of those individuals who they said they're coming for next, and he said he's not going to back down. He's not going to be intimidated. And you just need to take the threat seriously because we see obviously on a daily basis that this is a challenge that we obviously are grappling with. And to pick up on something that Susan talked about and the changes just in I think not only media consumption, but there was a period of time, even when I was coming up through journalism school and entering the media, where I think that they were content that there were a small number of conservative media outlets or personalities, and they could relegate them off to the side and they could invite them on to shows like Crossfire once in a while and, you know, engage in some conservative conversation. The thing that's changed is with the growth of the internet and social media is given a voice to people who otherwise would have been on the sidelines. And Charlie Kirk was a great example of that. Not only what's amazing about Charlie Kirk is Charlie was able to convene all of these students, high school, college students, people of all walks of life. And he did that through TPUSA. And then he was also such a prolific commentator. And he obviously was a media star and was able to build his own following through social media. I think 5 million followers on X. I mean, just an incredible individual. And to Susan's point about her nephews, my own teenage son, who with his friends last night in group chats were conversing about this. Obviously, it was devastating to all of them. Would regularly see Charlie's short videos on YouTube and other platforms where they may consume media. And so it was his willingness to engage with the other side and have that debate that I think so many young people appreciated, because they were probably missing that from their classroom where they were hearing a one-sided message. And finally, somebody like Charlie Kirk came around and was able to challenge that orthodoxy.
You know, Rob, to your point, it was amazing. Both of my kids in their teens talked about this. Like, oh, Charlie Kirk. And both my wife and I were like, how do you know Charlie Kirk? And they go, oh, we see his videos all the time. And I'm like, wow, what that guy, I was actually shocked. To your point, I was actually shocked that they wasn't like they were looking at the news. They were like, oh, we see his clips on Instagram all the time or on social media. I was shocked in that. I want you guys all the way in. I want to start with you, Hayley. I mean, Susan, I think, alluded to it. Like we've got 2 elections in New Jersey and we got an election in Virginia, actually technically one in New York City, and then this Prop 50 out in California. The initial reaction that I have is, wow, people are going to get fired up and go out there and be like, we're going to have our voices heard, kind of as Susan did. Do you think that's, I mean, let's start with you, Hayley. Is that fair? I mean, do you think, not fair, but do you think it's going to happen? Do you think people are going to say, this is a call to go out there and act now?
I think so, but how disgusting and horrible is it that, we were all riled up after President Trump survived his assassination attempt. And of course, we won the White House after that, but we can't keep going down this road where the left kills someone on our side and then we get riled up. And I do think that we had that momentum regardless of that. I do think that people are going to be more motivated to have their voices heard because they know that the First Amendment is under siege. I'm a free speech absolutist, but what we're seeing now is the left doesn't really believe in that because they don't believe that the right should have a right to speak. So I do think that this movement has, there's a fire that has been lit under it. And I think something interesting that we've seen in recent weeks is this Irish comedian, Graham Linehan, who was arrested in Heathrow Airport for making posts on X about the transgender community. And he was arrested for that. And he posted on X yesterday, they just made 5 million Charlie Kirks. And to your point about this movement and how it is going to be going forward, I think it's going to be stronger than ever.
Susan?
Yeah, I think that a little vignette that I think is telling is that when Gavin Newsom was talking about his experience on the podcast with Charlie Kirk, he mentioned that his own son wanted to meet Charlie Kirk that day and was excited. It was dare say, a supporter of Charlie Kirk's. I mean, can you even imagine if you're governor of California and the absolute dystopia that and totalitarian policies that you've put in place, your own son is taking issue with it and wants to be there when you're interviewing Charlie Kirk. I can't even fathom that as put myself in Gavin Newsom's body to think about that. But certainly that is showing just how powerful his message of free speech really is. We have all lived during, I thought I would never live. I thought it was a banana republic. I couldn't believe what I was experiencing during COVID in California and watching the suppression of free speech and good stories. You know, I lived through Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky and the dress and all of these same reporters that were suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop were the ones going after Clinton. So what has changed for his relationship with Monica Lewinsky, specifically, you know, one of the major people, a Yahoo reporter. So what has changed since then? Why have we gotten into this business in the United States of censorship? How have we allowed that? And I think now, because of the Elon Musk's purchase of X, because of people like Charlie Kirk, we have freedom of speech again. And, you know, because of people like the Twitter files, like Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger, and Miranda Devine on the Hunter Biden laptop, you're not going to get away with it anymore. We're going to hold your feet to the fire. We're going to speak up. I remember that my Twitter account was losing people by the thousands, like sands through the hourglass. I watched it all fall apart. I don't know. I'd lost like 10,000 people in one day. And I thought, no one's speaking up about this. How dare they? How seriously dare they? And this is a banana republic. You know, we owe a debt of gratitude to Charlie Kirk, and the journalists that exposed that rot that was going on in our country between the politicization of the FBI and social media platforms that have the power to tell us stories. So Charlie Kirk stood up against that and fought that tooth and nail. And now it's everybody's job. There are 5 million more Charlie Kirks out there. And it's everyone's job to fight these demons of censorship. And the truth will get out. You know, the truth will get out. Even Gavin Newsom's son is a Charlie Kirk fan.
Rob, Susan a minute ago brought up the MSNBC incident where Matthew Dowd just said some despicable stuff about how hateful comments result in hateful actions. And hours later, MSNBC, I'm sure after really thinking it through, like, can we hope that this goes away, announced it says this is the Rebecca Cutler, who is by the way, they put this out just so everyone understands how they did this, the weasel way they did it. There's an MSNBC account, and then there's an MSNBC PR account. The MSNBC account has 5 million followers. The MSNBC PR account has tens of, 30,000, I think. So they did this intentionally, and it says, this is Rebecca Cutler, the president of MSNBC. During our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Like, in other words, this was a hastily thing. Like, they're trying to set the playing field. That it was confusion. Matthew Dowd, who's a longtime strategist, so, I get you're trying to show that it was confusing at the time, but this is a guy who knows what he's doing, made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable. We apologize for his statements, as has he. There's no place for this. Full stop. I think that then, an hour or two later, they announced that he had parted ways with them, which is, you got fired in TV world. And I felt like they were trying to see if they could just get away with this and not have to deal with it by minimizing it, checking a box. I think it was just so overwhelmingly over the top.
It was over. And let's remember the other incident that happened on MSNBC. I mean, moments after the news first broke, where a commentator said that somebody may have been firing a gun off in celebration, as if that's what you do on a college campus during a TPUSA event. I mean, it was just obnoxious. It goes to show how out of touch they are with reality, and they live in their bubbles, and they probably have no conservative friends. And this is exactly what happens in the case of Matthew Dowd when you make insensitive comments like that. And so on the one hand, yes, I'm glad to see that there's some accountability. I don't know that somebody would lose their job if we didn't live in the type of an environment now where people are demanding that level of accountability, Sean. But at the same time, the insensitive comments that you heard across numerous media platforms, including social media, where it was just the most vile and hostile. You even saw this play out on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives following the moment of silence that Speaker Johnson gave for Charlie Kirk. And then you had members, who were debating on the left with some on the right, over whether or not it was appropriate to say a prayer. So I was disappointed in all of their behavior yesterday. I thought it was certainly unbecoming of leaders, people who hold themselves up to be leaders of various institutions. And I can only hope that people will look to the things we've talked about with Charlie and the inspiration that he served for so many young people to really model his behavior. And Susan is absolutely right about this that we've experienced. And I'm hopeful that people will recognize that this is an ever-present threat. Just because Elon Musk owns X today doesn't mean that the other social media platforms or other outlets are necessarily going to always move in that direction. And as Hayley made the point, as it pertains to the enthusiasm perhaps among conservatives, Charlie played an instrumental role in turning out young people for President Trump. And I think that it's to be seen whether or not that transpires in New Jersey or Virginia this fall. But I do know this, all of those chapters that he created will no doubt go on and carry out that legacy that he created.
Hayley, it wasn't limited to MSNBC. The number of morons that put, I don't even know how to, they were despicable comments about who was next or whatever. But there's a reporter down in Florida, AJ Gankarski, who is with Florida Politics. And he texted Congressman Randy Fine from Florida and said this: if gun control had been in play, could the tragedy have been avoided? If gun control had been in play, I honestly, apparently they've suspended that guy. Now, here's the thing. Not only is it inappropriate and offensive, it's downright stupid. Do you really think that an assassin goes, hey, you know what? I know I was going to commit multiple crimes, but there's a gun control issue about, because he was saying on campus if they were banned. I actually think that they should fire him for just stupidity, never mind the offensive nature and the timeliness of that question to Congressman Randy Fine.
Yeah, it's totally disgusting. And they jump at the chance to politicize it. And they think that conservatives are just going to go back on our viewpoints, that we believe in the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. Oh, they think that if they shoot President Trump and they shoot Charlie Kirk, that we'll just go back on everything we believe and we'll just say, oh yeah, here's our guns, take our guns. Absolutely not. If anything, this just radicalized people on the right to be even more strong in their beliefs and to carry on the torch of Charlie Kirk. And to your point about that reporter being fired, thank goodness. Not enough has been done at MSNBC in my perspective. I believe that everyone at MSNBC that was in charge of that broadcast needs to be fired. It is not enough to just let Matthew Dowd go. Katie Tur was complicit in all of this. And honestly, if you work in a newsroom type situation or a control room type situation, you know that there are many executives at MSNBC watching that broadcast, and you could have made a phone call to the control room. You could have made a phone call to the executive producer. Any producer with a backbone in that room could have gotten into Katie Tur's ear and said, shut this down. They did not.
Or by the way, not just shut this down, but to say, Matthew, that's inappropriate, hateful actions. I'm sorry, the idea, to your point, that you just let it go, unbelievable. But Susan, you mentioned Gavin Newsom, and at least he said something nice, okay? And I get it, whether or not I don't want to judge. I know that Charlie was on his podcast, and who knows, maybe they struck up a friendship afterwards. But JB Pritzker's response, I'll just play it for everyone because this isn't even like there's no question about this. Take a look.
My sympathy to Charlie Kirk's family and to Charlie Kirk, who obviously has, become a target for somebody. I don't know whether it's political violence because I don't know who did it. I know they seem to have somebody in custody. But I will say that political violence, unfortunately, has been ratcheting up in this country. We saw the shootings, the killings in Minnesota. We've seen other political violence occur in other states. And I would just say it's got to stop. And I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments it. We've seen the January 6th rioters who clearly, have tripped a new era of political violence.
So, Susan, they can call him Hitler. Just the day before this happened, Brian Stelter on on CNN, he probably should be at MSNBC. He shouldn't be anywhere, actually, but was talking about how Charlie was a horrible person. And now, like, they literally, I don't know entirely what was in the mind of but the idea that somehow we don't know, come on, give me a break. Number two, you're going to blame this on the president after the left and everyone else has called not just Charlie, but everyone on the right, Hitler, despicable, deplorable, Hayley, garbage, everything. I mean, I'm sorry. You're going to blame this on Trump now? This is insane. I get JB Pritzker wants to be president, but like, dude, that's not the appropriate time. And save your rhetoric for someone who cares.
That's exactly right. Just the night before, I was up 2 nights in a row really late because of these stories. The night before, we had a story about Code Pink protesters getting into a restaurant with President Trump and yelling epithets at him and calling him Hitler. I mean, this happened the night before. So, and we can get into the Secret Service issues with that, which were scary, right on display. But in terms of, the left blaming this on the Second Amendment, I had a well-known Politico reporter respond to a post on Facebook where I was saying, even my neighbors in California, of course, are connecting this to conservatives and Charlie Kirk support for the Second Amendment. And I thought to myself, that's just absurd. We don't know the motives of the shooter yet. Can you just let things play out a little bit, get some more information? Don't set up ignorant posts. JB Pritzker, that's an ignorant comment. And I said to this political reporter who said, but Charlie Kirk's own words are used against him because he supports the Second Amendment. And I said to this political reporter, I know you're just trying to be spiteful, but I think that even Charlie Kirk would still support the Second Amendment despite what happened because he believes in the ability of people to protect their families, and deranged people will always get guns. A lot of conservatives, including Charlie Kirk, believe that mentally ill people should be committed. And he said, well, it's not spiteful. It's just ironic.
Right. By the way, this idea of the agenda is insane. Before I forget, though, I know this is a heavy show and a heavy topic, but we do have sponsors for these. And so I apologize for the segue, but I will tell you that I want to thank them for sticking with us throughout the show. And one of them that has done some amazing work with people who are what they call weight cycling, going up and down, are the folks over at Lean. This is a great way for those people who know what I'm talking about. You've done juices and cleanses and cabbage soups diets and all of the other ones and tried. You've gone up and down. If you get it, it actually can be damaging to do that to your body, to your organs. You get diabetes, liver damage, heart attack, and stroke. Most people want who have done this and dealing with this don't want a weight cycle. They want to actually find a way to get somewhere where they can maintain a healthy weight. Lean is, though, a great oral supplement. It's not an injectable. The science is impressible. It helps maintain a healthy blood sugar. It helps control appetite and cravings, and it burns fat by converting fat to energy. If you want a meaningful way at losing weight in a healthy way and keep it off, try Lean, add it to your diet, get 20% off when you go to takelean.com and enter code word Sean, SEAN, takelean.com. Before we get to the end of the show, though, I want to, again, I played that prophetic quote about the left and violence. Charlie was actually asked about how he'd want to be remembered. I want to play it for you real quick.
How do you want to be remembered?
I mean, if I die?
Everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
Charlie Kirk, thank you so much.
You
for
guys
coming
do
on
a
the
great
Ice
job.
Coffee
I wish.
Hour.
All right, guys. I got 30 seconds for each of you. I'll just say this. I think mission accomplished. He's known for his faith. He's known for standing and fighting for principle. And if everyone can go out of this world with that level of accomplishment, I think we would be proud of ourselves and what we've done. Hayley, your final thoughts?
Absolutely. Mission accomplished. I couldn't agree more. He is a fervent man of God, and he inspires so many to be the same way. And I would say this, keep your heads on a swivel, but do not be afraid to keep fighting, because Charlie would want us to do that.
Susan?
He has fought the good fight. He has won the race. His mission is done. He has a crown in heaven. So we will take up his mantle now, and he will have one of the best legacies he could have imagined. Absolutely mission accomplished.
Rob Bluey?
Yeah, I hope Charlie inspires others to turn to Jesus Christ and his teachings and all of the lessons that Charlie has taught all of us throughout his short life, 31 years, remarkably cut short, Sean. I pray for him and his family as he is in a different place today, and one that he is now before God, his God and our God. And thank you, Sean, for leading this conversation today. I can't think of a better way to honor such a man of dignity and grace than what you did.
Thank you. I will say, I came across a give, send, go for Charlie's family, for Erica, his wife, and his 2 kids. It's not going to be the next couple days are going to be killer for these guys. I can't imagine what they're going to go through, what Erica's going to deal with. But it's not just these 2 days, it's the next 20 years. These kids being raised without a dad, a father, having to look back on clips of their dad that they'll be very proud of, but won't ever take the place of him ever holding their hand again. So, my best to Charlie and his family. Thank you guys for being with us, and we'll be back here tomorrow.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.